Members of the public? Got it. Welcome all members of the public, now that you can hear me. The purpose of the commission is to decide applications for certificates of appropriateness for new construction or major work within the Pinehurst Historic District, and to do so by conducting hearings and making findings of fact when such applications come before us. By law, the commission is directed to take no action except to prevent construction or alterations that would be incongruous with the special character of the historic district. I am Eric von Salzen, the chair of the commission, and I ask each commissioner, starting from my far left, to state his or her name for the record.
Richard Vincent.
Thomas Schroeder.
And Lucy?
Terry Lurch.
We have two members absent, but we have a quorum, so we can proceed. Before we get to our first order of business, before we begin, I want to say a few words about terminology that will be used during this hearing for the benefit of the public, either here in the room or who may later or may view this meeting. This commission operates under a statute enacted by the state of North Carolina, which provided for guidelines regarding the construction in historic districts. In accordance with that statute, about 2.5 years ago, Pinehurst Village Council adopted guidelines for how this commission is supposed to apply the statute. Last year, the state legislature amended the statute, and it changed the word guidelines to standards. That change went into effect on July 1st of this year. The Village Council plans to meet with the commission about amending the guidelines to reflect the change to standards in the statute, but that meeting hasn't yet happened. Our member, Mr. Taylor, has joined us. We're now almost at full strength, certainly high quality in any event. During this hearing, we will refer to and apply the guidelines. As chair of the commission, I have stated the opinion that these guidelines satisfy the standards under the amended statute until and unless the Village Council makes a change. That's just one person's opinion, and if the majority of the commission members disagree, they can overrule me. But until that happens, when we discuss guidelines, we mean the same thing as the standards. Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of our last meeting. All commissioners have been provided with copies of the draft minutes. Does any commissioner have any changes to suggest? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Minutes are approved. May I now have a motion to enter the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in the public hearing. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. That means that anyone desiring to testify must be sworn in, and the commission is required to consider only facts presented in this hearing. The proceedings are video recorded. I ask the commissioners if they have visited any of the sites on our docket today and whether they have had any ex parte communications with respect to any of the cases we'll be considering today.
I visited all the sites, no ex parte communications.
Visited all the sites, no ex parte communication.
Visited all the sites, no ex parte communication.
I also visited all the sites and had no ex parte communications.
I visited all the sites and no ex parte communications.
I visited all the sites and no ex parte communication.
Each case that the commission will hear this afternoon, staff will first present a summary of the application, the staff's evaluation of the extent to which the application complies with the commission's standards for such an application or raises issues that require further information, the staff's comments on the application, and where appropriate, the staff's recommendations for commission action. The application and its supporting documents, as well as the staff's detailed report, will then be entered into the record. Commissioners will then have an opportunity to question staff about the report and testimony. Next, the applicant or the applicant's representatives will have an opportunity to provide any additional information supporting the application and to address any questions or issues identified in staff's testimony. Commissioners will then have an opportunity to question the applicant witnesses. After the applicant's presentation, if any member of the public wishes to present any evidence either in support of or in opposition to the application, please come forward at that time and identify yourself. I will swear you in and give you an opportunity to present any reasons why you believe that the application should be granted or denied. Please remember, the Commission is interested in facts that will help us decide whether the proposed work would be congruous with the special character of the Pinehurst Historic District. As chair, I have the right to exclude testimony that isn't relevant to that subject, but I'm not required to do so. Commissioners will then have an opportunity to question the public person about their testimony. If the applicant or staff wishes to respond to such testimony, I will permit them to do so. We will now proceed to our first case. Will any staff members who will give evidence in this proceeding please stand, raise your right hand, and state your name for the record?
Alexandria Rye.
Swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to the Commission with respect to all the cases on our docket today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Our first case this afternoon better? Okay. I haven't said anything worthwhile up until now anyway. Come on. All right, our first case this afternoon is COA 2021-00122 involving 44 Mackenzie Road. Is the applicant or the applicant's representatives present? Would you come forward, please? Would you state your name for the record, please, and spell your last name?
Mitchell Harris with Harrison Sun Construction, and the last name Harris.
Thank you. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to the Commission with respect to this application shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
You may be seated at the table.
Right here in the front table if you want, like, sir. We are going to make you stand.
Okay. Staff will now present the case and the staff's report.
Thank you. As you mentioned, this is for COA 2021-00122. The applicant and owner is Philip and Emily McCarty. And the licensed professional and representative for this application is Harrison Sun Construction. The property is located at 44 Mackenzie Road East, currently zoned R30, which is residential. The existing use, which is not being proposed to change, is single-family residential. The request that is being brought before you is for exterior renovations, including window replacement, structure addition, an overhead door for golf cart or storage, and an enclosed screen porch addition. To break that down further, what they're wanting to do is to replace the existing vinyl windows, which can, go back here, add additional sitting room off the master. The exterior for that is proposed to match the existing home. The overhead door is proposed to be metal, which will also match the existing garage doors. The enclosure for the screen porch is to also have an exterior brick to match the existing. And some of the exterior modifications that were in the application is the first one I want to address is the metal roof. The metal roof is existing. We did contact the applicant to verify this, that there is no additional metal being proposed. The plans did make a mistake and indicate a new metal roof, but that new is actually existing. On the sunroom addition, the enclosure is proposed to have French doors. They are adding brick steps for the grade level change out the back door. And the enclosed patio proposed to be brick. It looks like they, per the application, are wanting to change the paint of all of the brick. That is something that will need to be clarified, as they're proposing a French country gray, and the existing is indicated as cream. The other change that they're going to be making would be the shutters that are existing white vinyl. They're being proposed as mahogany and black. This is the map of the location and the adjoining property owners that were notified of the public hearing. And on this, I'm going to show you on these images here that the metal roof right here, that's what is existing. So please ignore that, the new portion of it. But this shows you where in the rear there's the enclosure. This is technically the left side, but it's the left back. So it's tucked behind the garage, but it's on the left side. And on the foundation plans, there is indication of a removal of a fireplace. I'm not sure if that was a mistake in the plans, but I'm sure the applicant or the representative can speak to that. This is a full rear elevation. You'll notice the brick that is existing, the windows that are being replaced with an architectural style, as well as the enclosure here with the French doors and the steps. And this here is the front. From the front, you can see a small portion, if you look closely, of where the master seating area is going to be proposed. I apologize. That would be on this slide. And it's right there in the main front. So
That small piece was the screen
It's
porch
the-
that's being,
yes, that is the screen porch. Right over this handy dandy laser here. Right in this area. So looking at the front, you'll see that to the side here, this is the new addition with a matching roof pitch. And these are the shutters in question. And on this side, this is going to be where the garage is. This is that overhead metal garage that they're putting in, and it does match the existing. This is your right side elevation showing that addition right here. The following guidelines are applicable. It's section 3, chapter A, B, C, E, I, L, and N. And at this time, I would like to submit the following for record. It's the staff report, the presentation, the application, applicant's material, photos, site plan, and findings of fact.
Without objection, the materials referred to by staff are admitted into the record. Do commissioners have any questions for staff? Yes, sir.
Alexandria, when I did the site visit and looking at the diagram, it appears that the addition will protrude farther forward than the front of the existing house, although not farther forward than the porch. I made a note to check what our specific requirements are there, and candidly, I forgot to do that. Is that within the scope of the guidelines?
So the setbacks will be checked once they do apply for the building permit. That is, it currently does appear that it meets the setbacks. We have requested a survey.
The issue is not the setback. The issue is, I recollected when I was there that additions are not to come in front of the existing plane of the house.
Oh.
I didn't know whether that was the house proper or the house including the porch,
So
or I
that-
may be just completely mistaken.
That would be including the porch.
Thank you.
You referenced there are photos. I didn't see any photos. I don't know, maybe I saw online.
So these are generated photos from the plans that you're looking at, and it's just the type
There
that
were
it
no
is.
photos?
There's no actual photos.
And you were saying all of the brick, all of it will be painted now, is that it?
Mayor, That may be a mistake. No,
No.
none of the brick, I made a mistake when I filled out the paperwork, but we're gonna match the existing brick, which is, I have a sample with me, but it's the French Country, but none of the brick will be painted. We're gonna be adding the brick on the addition on the right side, but we'll match the current brick that's there for now.
Thank you.
So to clarify, the application states the existing color of the brick is cream, the proposed color is French Country Gray, and you're stating that you're going to not do French Country Gray, but rather find a cream that matches the existing?
No, the name of the brick is French Country Gray, sorry. So, actual name of the brick is French Country Gray.
Thank you.
The name of the brick, not the color of the brick.
My questions, but not of the staff.
I have one small question for clarification. I guess, first page of the report says, replace all vinyl windows with Pella aluminum-clad windows. Is that all the windows in the building when we say replace all vinyl windows? Are all the windows there now vinyl?
Per the application, that is what is stated.
Okay, so we're replacing all the windows. They're now vinyl. They're going to be aluminum clad.
Whole house.
And to follow up on that, it's not just the new addition that will have the mahogany shutters. You're going to remove the existing shutters and replace all of them with the mahogany.
Any other questions for Ms. Rye? None? The applicant to add anything to what's been said?
Think
You've
she's
already
spot on.
clarified a few points, but if there's anything
Only
more.
thing, I will clarify too, that on the rear porch, Alex and I talked about this, I think, but that rear porch actually is shingled, the quarry gray. So if you go back in the slides, the only standing seam metal that's on the house currently is the front porch and that little side porch covered. That rear screen porch that's there now that we're going to turn into a glassed-in sunroom is shingled and will stay that way as it currently is. The envelope won't change on that, nor the roof in this scope of work.
Can we see that on here? So you can point that out on those, to make sure I understand.
Go back maybe one more, but that's,
Oh, yeah.
that right there, that was showing metal. Maybe that was in the original when we originally built the house, but that is not metal and it is shingled, just like the other part of the house with the quarry gray.
Not replacing the roofing material on that portion, though? It's
No,
gonna be
sir.
Just as it stands right now?
Just as it stands right now. We're going to take out the screen and replace the windows with the Pella Architectural Series in white. The white that's there now and the Pella white may be a little different, but it's, the windows that are there now are Quaker white, and we're going back with a Pella white. Be real similar.
Do any commissioners have any questions for the applicant?
On the drawing over here, there's what appears to be clapboards. Are those actually that, or is that, am I mistaken?
There seems to be what?
On the very left hand of the existing drawing over there, there's some horizontal siding.
Mm-hmm.
That is,
That is there now currently, but they want to change that to brick.
so we're changing that.
They want all the lap siding on the lower elevation to also go away and be replaced with the brick to match.
Placing brick over there as well.
And that can, if you'll, I'm sorry, her name? If you, yeah, okay. So right there on that right elevation, see where the brick stops and the siding starts up to the water table point? They would like to take that brick and continue it right on up, which would be relatively easy since it starts at the foundation level anyway. And let that go all the way up to the water table height. Then the only siding you would have would be what's up in the gable, the higher gable up top.
And then continuing that all the way around the garage
Yes, sir.
to the backside, which I think was the photograph.
Yes, sir.
And
So the garage will be brick, everything up on the first floor is going to be brick,
Yes, sir.
and then all the way around the house.
Yes, sir. the left side is already on that left side, all of that's brick veneer all the way up already. The only thing that didn't really have the brick on it is that side there. And so we're going to change that and go ahead and veneer that.
Alexandria, can you put up Exhibit C, shows the top view of the roof? There's an Exhibit C in our pack that seems to indicate a difference between the,
She's going to find it.
I can probably follow you.
I'm not sure I can. That's why I want to see it.
You talking about the bird's eye view looking down on top of the roof?
yeah,
Should be, keep right there.
that's the one. Maybe, no, back, all right.
There's the exhibit.
When I looked at this, I assumed that one side was metal and the other side was not. Was that intentional, or you're now saying that actually most of the roof is not metal, and you're just adding the metal on the addition on the front right side?
Yeah, I'm not adding any metal. The addition that's going to be added on the front right off the master bedroom will be shingled to match in the quarry gray. So that on the left-hand drawing, or the right, but the 16-foot or whatever that's being added to the front of the house will have shingles to match.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Request that, or could we request that from now on there are photographs, especially if they're existing homes and not new construction? I think it would be helpful for color and looking at various materials. But yes, no?
I think, I agree, but I don't think we're going to solve that tonight, so.
Well, it would have been real helpful right now in this discussion, so going forward, I'm just asking if we could.
I agree with that recommendation.
And I have some samples too, like if I can bring, if you need me to bring those up of the roof, the brick, the siding and stuff
Why
like
why
that.
don't you do that? I think that would be helpful to us.
Those bricks match the existing bricks.
For the record.
The closest you
could
get,
you-
anyway.
Could you briefly repeat what you said when you're sitting by the microphone? You don't have to go through everything, just, I've
Get you on
described
record.
such and such.
The quarry gray is the shingle color that'll match the existing shingles. The French country brick, which we're praying matches. It's a different run, but we've got some areas where I think we can, I've used this brick before to match and it worked out good. And then we'll stay on with the West Highland White is the trim color name, which we plan to stay with. Just repaint everything, clean it, needs cleaning and repainting. And I don't have any idea why I'm taking windows out that are 4-year-old and replacing them with new windows. So do not ask me, I have no idea.
Ours not to reason why.
It's an upgrade.
Right, it is going to look much, much nicer. STLs, the new windows will be STL bars, and it's going to really look a lot nicer.
Any other questions about this application?
I don't recall looking in good enough detail, but the shutters are fixed, right? They're not operable.
Yes, sir. The ones that are there now are fixed. We'll use a New Horizon shutter that goes back or something, and the new ones may be operable. We haven't gotten that far.
Okay,
Are they going to fit the window?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, if you were to close them, they would
Yes.
look like they're actually closed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If they're operable,
If they're-
if they turn out to be operable.
If they turn out to be operable.
there are no more questions. Thank you for your testimony. As I said earlier, if there's any member of the public who wishes to present any evidence either in support of or in opposition to the application, please come forward at this time and identify yourself. Seeing none, if there are no further questions from the commissioners as to either of our witnesses at this time, we're therefore ready to deliberate on this matter. Anybody have any comments, suggestions, motions?
I have a suggested slight change to the wording of the motion,
Okay,
which
why
I
don't you
do not
proceed?
believe will change its thrust. I move that the Historic Preservation Commission find the proposed work at 44 Mackenzie Road, COA 2021-00122, is consistent with the Historic District guidelines and is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the material submitted, and the findings of fact, and based on that they approve a certificate of appropriateness.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
What's the incongruity?
No incongruity,
Oh, I
just,
thought you said there was some.
no.
Oh, I mean, not incongruity, inconsistency, was there?
I think we should find the work congruous first before we approve the COA, which is not the wording as printed here.
Okay, you're just turning the two halves over.
Turning the two halves around, yes.
But your motion does not does not assume any inconsistency with our guidelines.
It does not, neither
Or
do
our-
I think
or incongruity.
Okay.
neither do I think that the intent of the motion is different than what was written here.
Okay, understood. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, I will poll the commissioners.
Aye.
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 Got it.
Congratulations, you have your certificate of appropriateness.
For your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case is COA 2021-00123 involving 55 Shaw Road Southeast. Is the applicant or the applicant's representative present? Would you both come forward, please? You can actually stand at the chairs because the microphones will pick you up when you swear. Will you each state your name for the record and spell your last name? Thank you. And will you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You do. Please be seated. Alexandria, would you like to present the case?
Sure thing. Just for the record's sake, can you say your first and last name into the microphone one more time for me?
Kathleen Connolly.
Peter Connolly.
Thank you. All right, as you have been introduced, Peter and Kathleen Conley are the applicant and owner. The property is located at 55 Shaw Road Southeast. They have hired professional Lands Asberg.
Actually, Lars Expert.
Lars, okay, sorry, thank you. The zoning is R10 residential. The existing land use is single-family residential, which is also the proposed, so no change there. The case number on this is COA 2021-00123. These applicants were here prior, about a little over a year ago, and at the time were proposing renovations. The primary change that they're bringing before you today is to take the existing fire, or the proposed fireplace at the guest house, and they're actually going to exchange the existing garage door and propose a new ingress-egress door. I'm going to show you some pictures to help explain that. Here's the map of where the home is located, as well as surrounding property owners that were notified of the public hearing. So in this slide, you'll see that the original proposed and what was approved when they were here before what is existing and what's being proposed to go in now, which is before you for decision tonight. And at this time, staff would like to submit the following for record: staff report, presentation, application, applicant materials, site plan photos, and findings of fact.
Without objection, the materials referred to by staff are admitted into the record. Any questions of staff?
We're replacing the garage door with those two over there, right? And
Correct.
they fit in where? On the other, now go back all the way to the left. Is that the wall, they're going to not put the fireplace in or take it down? I don't know, whichever, but, and that wall will look like those two windows. How about the window and the door that's in there? Is that going to be, well, that window and door is not in there then? Is that correct?
Correct. So what is existing is the garage door at this time,
Got it.
and that is it.
And instead of that entire proposal that was approved, there now will just be an entry door?
Correct.
There'll be no window and no single entry door?
Correct.
Just for clarification, the drawing on the left side is from last year's application. That was what they were proposing to do last year. It's not what exists today.
Correct. This is what was proposed and approved in a public hearing.
Right.
What exists today is the garage door, and then what's being brought before you today is the proposed entry door.
So in terms of evaluating what's been proposed to us, we don't have to look at the drawing on the left. We look at the two photographs in the center and the right. And as I understand it, the existing situation is a garage door, which is the picture in the center, and that's going to be replaced with an entry door, which looks like metal and glass. That's going to be where the garage door is now. Is that correct?
That can definitely be interpreted as such, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so that, the window, the proposed door is equal to the size of the garage door? Right, I would assume it might be narrower than that garage door, but I don't know. That's my question.
I was not given measurements of the door, so I'm not exactly sure what the width would be.
Then we'll ask when they present it so that I understand. Because I just look at if it's narrower, then we got to consider backfill on the two sides too. So that's my concern, but that's fine.
Any other questions for Alexandria? Oh, okay. Applicants, you now have an opportunity to add anything that you would like to the presentation from staff. You're satisfied that that accurately represents what you're proposing to do? Let's follow up then on Tom's question.
Okay. And I don't need to know exact dimensions. I'm not asking that, but the garage door is X wide. The door you're replacing that with is the same X dimension, or is it something less than X? That's my question. Does it fill in the whole thing where the garage door is?
The restoration of the house, one of the biggest problems is the original logs in the home, and finding matching logs or keeping them look as they look, as you probably all know since you've walked around. Extremely difficult to do that, so we are going to try it match perfectly so none of the logs will be changed surrounding the middle picture as close as we can. That's the goal. The size, I believe the garage door is 9 feet 11 wide. It's 7 feet tall.
So then there will be no fill-in from the sides? Is that
Correct.
what you're telling me?
That's correct.
Okay,
We're
because
trying
that's
to-
what we're going to approve. So if you go out and if we put that door in there and then you got to come back in
Right.
X distance on both sides,
That's correct.
you don't have approval for that.
Correct.
Okay, just so you understand.
Maybe if
So
I had-
understand.
If I had to guess, the side windows, I mean, the doors are not going to be 4.5 feet
Well,
wide each.
The whole unit.
Right, so what the doors don't represent will be filled with slightly wider windows so that the whole thing fills the opening.
Correct. So that's a photograph of a finished door and windows, side lights from the maker. It would have to be made to fit that space, so it'll look slightly different than that. I would guess a little wider.
Right.
Yeah. But our goal is not to disturb take the garage door off, which faces the road, to take that out and put the doors in.
So there'd be no fill of logs back in.
Yes. Trying not
That
to,
was my
not to mess
question,
with
so I knew how much, what we were going to do with that. So if that's the case, then okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Just as a matter of information, I went back and looked at the record a year ago for the application that you made at that time, which included the chimney instead of replacing the garage door with the entry doors. And we approved that, and one of the reasons I think we approved that was that the staff commented to us that the chimney was going to be better looking from an aesthetic standpoint than the garage door. Personally, I would say the same thing is true of your proposed entry door, so that it would be, in my view, an improvement to the historic district to have that change that you are now proposing, as it would have been had you gone ahead with the chimney proposal. Personal opinion.
And you're replacing a door with a door.
That's also true.
So, I mean, you're not replacing a door with a window or a door with something else. You're replacing a door with a door. Look, different looking door, but, and I agree with my partner over here, that to me looks better than the garage door, so.
And this is not relevant to the approval as much as just always a pleasure to sit up here and see people who care about how the property in the historic district looks and are trying as hard as they can to make it look as good as it can under the whatever is being proposed. So I commend that. Any other questions?
Question about trim. So there's nothing in here, I'm assuming this picture from the supplier for the door, it doesn't look like it's finished. They haven't sort of done any casement trim around it. Can you speak to what your plan is there? On the previous plan that we approved about a year ago, you did some sort of trim around those windows. I can't recall the detail. I'm assuming it's some form of wooden lap siding or something.
An excellent question.
Yeah,
Because you got the blue trim now.
Blue trim is leaving,
Correct.
and it will actually be a type of cedar that is going around the windows right now, because it looks most like what's on the house now.
Okay.
And that will be stained darker to match the log, the surrounding logs. And that will be around all the windows on the house. And I believe it's about 4 inches in size. It's very simple, the way it was 100 years ago on the home.
Trim then is basically going to look much similar to what's around the garage door right now.
Natural wood, though.
Other natural wood, but I mean, as far as
To
architectural
fill that
structure.
space. What you can't see there is there's in the bottom, at the end of that cement pad, there is a footing, the floor of about 6 or 8 inches. At least it's hard to see for me. So it'll be cased down to that and finished.
Oh, I see, yeah, there's a wall, a footing wall,
The whole way.
yeah, all the way around it, and then, yeah.
And that's how you've treated the existing windows that are being replaced on the house? Okay, we've seen that.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much. As I said earlier, if there's any member of the public who wishes to present any evidence, either in support of or in opposition to the application, please come forward, state your name, and spell your last name. I see no volunteers. So if there's no further testimony, we are ready to deliberate. Any discussion or any motion?
I'll take a motion.
Barry?
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness and find the proposed major work at 55 Shaw Road Southeast as consistent with historic district guidelines and is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given. the material submitted, and the findings of fact.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will poll the commissioners.
Aye.
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 It's unanimous. The application is approved, and you have your certificate of appropriateness.
For your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Really would be hard to match the logs. I think this is a great idea. So
I think the window's going to be much easier than the logs,
You're right. Thank you.
and that may be a challenge.
All right, our next case is COA 2021-00127 involving 10 Village Green Road. Is the applicant present? You come on up, please.
Is it 10 Village Green or 80 by Mcintyre?
Unless somebody's changed the order on me, that's 10 Village Green.
Let's do this one because it's so simple.
I know, but we just, I want to stick with the order that we've got. Would you state your name for the record, please, and spell your last name? Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please be seated. Alexandria, would you like to present the case?
For COA 2021-00127, the applicant is Travis Wallace. He's also the professional representing. The owner is Robert Ishier. Thank you. The property is located at 10 Village Green Road, zoned R10. The existing and no change in proposed land use is single-family residential. The applicant is requesting to change an existing single entry door to a 3-panel French door. The property can be identified in the Moore County PIN number shown on the screen. So in showing you that, this is the map of where it is located, as well as surrounding property owners who were notified of the public hearing. On the left, you'll see the single entry door, and on the right, you'll see the 3-pane proposed door and the widening there of the steps. The applicable guidelines, section 3, which would be the changes to the existing residence for windows and doors. And at this time, staff would like to submit the following into record: the staff report, presentation, application, the applicant's materials, photos and site plan, and the finding of facts. Questions?
Without objection, the materials referred to are admitted into the record. Do commissioners have any questions for Ms. Rye?
I just want to make sure the record reflects the right owner. It's Bob Iker, because the cover letter, the staff cover letter says Dion Arthur, I think. Just to make clear for the record, that's all.
Any other questions or staff? Not, Mr. Wallace, what would you like to add in support of this application?
It's just that room has a really good view from the other windows, so the owner's trying to match that view on that side. It's kind of silly to have such a small door, so that's the intent.
Will the new doors look exactly like the 3-part door that's already there in a different part of the
Yes, sir.
house?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Wallace?
You're going to just move that light over? You're not replacing light with anything else, right? Okay, just moving. And those panes in that door are effectively the same size as the few panes that we can see in the remaining house? So they all match to,
Right.
A photo showing, I thought, or a mocked-up photo,
Yes.
which was helpful, I thought. but- Yeah.
that one?
It's one of the Exhibit Bs.
Electronic, and I don't have it.
Well, that's C, but that shows the existing and the proposed as well.
The previous one, I think, is what, Tom,
Yep.
you were looking for, the size of the windows
Yeah, I was
compared
just
to
trying to
others.
see if-
Yeah.
how it laid out. Fine.
Any other questions for Mr. Wallace? As I said earlier, if there's any member of the public who wishes to present evidence either in support of or in opposition to the application, please come forward at this time and identify yourself. I see no volunteers. Accordingly, I believe the record is closed. Unless any of the commissioners have any further questions, we're ready to deliberate or act on a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Richard?
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness and find the proposed major work at 10 Village Green Road is consistent with historic district guidelines and deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, materials submitted, and findings of fact.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Since they didn't poll the commissioners, I have to ask for nays. Have no nays. I'm sorry, did your motion include the issuance of the certificate of appropriateness? It did, all right. Congratulations, you have the certificate of appropriateness that you have asked for. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
The next case involves COA 2021-00128 at 1 Carolina Vista, a familiar address. Is the applicant present? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Will you state your name for the record and spell your last name?
Calvin Berkeley, Burkley.
Please be seated. Alexandria, would you like to present the case?
So for COA 2021-00128, the applicant is Calvin Berkeley, as well as owner being Pinehurst Resort and Country Club. The professional on this is Randy Holmes and James Compton. Property is located at 1 Carolina Vista. The existing use is Pinehurst Resort and Country Club, as well as the proposed use, no change. The zoning is RD Recreational Development. The applicant is proposing a roof material change in color from a flat black rubber membrane to a red metal roof. And this is on the 91st hole at the main clubhouse. This here is a map that shows you the property, subject property, as well as the notified adjoining property owners. And this will show you an image of the color material. I'm going to go to a map now. So the roof change is going to be in this location. It's kind of hard to see. It's a large property. But coming in here, you can see the proposed red metal roof, where it's going next to the current red metal roof, which was recently done in the Pro Shop edition. So somewhat of a comparison there to kind of give you a scale. The guideline that is applicable is Section 5, changes to existing commercial structure under Chapter A, General Guidelines. And with that, staff would like to submit the following to record: staff report, presentation, application, applicant materials, photo, site plans, and finding of facts. Any questions?
Without objection, the materials referred to are accepted into the record. Any questions for the applicant, or the staff witness?
Yeah, is Mr. Berkeley the owner? He
Stays
keeps being
will be.
called the owner, lucky
I
guy.
am not the owner.
He wishes.
I concluded that probably, but that's what the record says.
Repeatedly called the owner of all of this property, so I
Just
just,
don't tell Mr. Dedman, that's all.
Yeah. Don't tell your boss.
But
So the application actually states him as the owner, but GIS and the other portion of the application says Pinehurst Resort and Country Club.
I assume you're
that's
Assuming it's an
representing
LLC.
the- Okay.
He will meet us in the 19th hall and buy us if the case goes the right
The
way.
least he can do.
No further no questions for Alexandria? Mr. Berkeley, do you have anything to add?
The only thing I have is I do have a sample of it. It is actually what we did install. I can bring to you.
That's the same as what was installed on the other roof? Yes, sir. Okay. Identical.
Same as what was just installed next door, right?
Yes, it's the exact same material that we just installed.
Without the plastic cover.
Without the plastic.
I'm sure of that.
That's what keeps it from leaking.
That's good.
That's a good one, because I have. There's one that you originally put up that showed kind of an overview and had the two comparison. Could you go back to that, please? That one. So I see what the new one is, and I can pretty well figure out exactly what dimension that, because it's slightly set forward, comes farther out than the other.
Correct.
How much of that across there are you talking about doing it? Just the section in front of the 19th, or
All of the black.
all the black? So the whole thing now, all the way across till you get to the multi-sided piece is all now going to be metal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's all going to match what you existed put up. I just wondered, because you said the 19th, and I understand why you would say that, but I was just trying to figure out how much of it.
Point of reference for the physical location.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. As I said earlier, if there's any member of the public who wishes to present any evidence, either in support of or in opposition to the application, please come forward at this time and identify yourself. I see no public witnesses. Therefore, unless any member of the commission has any questions for anyone, that concludes the evidentiary part of the hearing, and we can proceed to a discussion and a motion. Any comments from any members of the commission? Anyone want to make a motion?
I move the Historical Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness and find the proposed major work at COA 2021-00128 Carolina Vista is consistent with the Historic District guidelines, is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given in the material submitted and the findings of fact.
Second.
There is a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to, let's try it this way. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays. It's unanimously approved. That saves a couple of seconds. Thank you very much. As Berkeley, you
Thank
have
you.
your certificate of appropriateness.
Thank you.
Hey,
Don't run off, yeah.
somebody else is going to do it? Okay. Thank you.
Alexandria, do you want to take the two 80 Carolinas together? Okay. The next two cases both involve 80 Carolina Vista. You may know it as the Carolina Hotel. We've been around here for a little while. COA 2021 and 00129 and 2021 00131. Alexandria, will you present the cases?
So moving forward, just to give a brief explanation, these are two separate projects happening on the same property. This is a combination, kind of a summary to show you both of those. Obviously, when you take action, you will have to do that separately for your motion. The applicant is Calvin Berkeley, owner, Pinehurst Resort and Country Club. We have, the property is located at 80 Carolina Vista, and it is known as the hotel. The existing use is Pinehurst Resort and Hotel, and the zoning is H for hotel. So for this project, there are several modifications that are being made. We have a porch modification and addition, an exterior modification, to change the appearance to look as it historically stated. New outdoor plaza, a new sitting wall and walkway. There will be stairway improvements. The material changes include on the elevation, and the existing material is stucco wood, white. Proposed material is going to be a fiber cement, also going to be white. Windows are wood vinyl. Proposed material is aluminum clad and wood color, also to remain white. The front door, the existing material is wood. Proposed material is also aluminum clad wood. The porch material is a wood color is white. Proposed material, fiber cement, also color white. So this is the property in question, as well as the adjoining property owners who were notified. And this gets into some of the pictures. So this is what is existing, and this is what is proposed. And then if you look at the bottom image here, you'll see again some of the changes as it's going to be added on and opened up a little. This is the historic imagery that they referenced in order to make some of these modification and changes. And you can see here where they're going back to more of the arch style. The second project is an outdoor area. Existing, you'll see it as an open space, heavily landscaped. What's being proposed here is an outdoor seating area with an additional landscaping, as well as a sitting wall. And you'll see that all the materials proposed here are to match the existing, or at least to accent it. Applicable guidelines, section 5. You have section 7 and 8. You've got changes to the existing commercial structure, site features, and the relocation and demolition. The demolition refers to a portion of the building that they are tearing down just to renovate that patio area. So don't let that scare you. At the time, staff would like to submit the following into record: staff report, presentation, application, applicable materials, photos, site plans, and finding of fact. Can I answer any questions?
Without objection, the materials referred to by staff are admitted into the record.
Just one minor question, Alexandria. On the veranda project, I understood what was being demolished there, but for the plaza they have to tear up some grass and what have you, but there's no structure being demolished, is there?
No, just disturbance.
Other questions for Alexandria? Mr. Berkeley, welcome back.
Thank you.
The owner.
What would you,
Sworn in.
what would you like to add?
Well, I would like to invite up, we have two different firms that have been engaged to do this work. And I would like to start, if it's okay with you guys, with the porch and changes to the exterior. And I'd like to go ahead and invite up some of the members of the staff of Glavan Homes.
Sure.
To go ahead and provide some testimony, as well as we have some, I know we had a last minute change on some items, which I think you have referenced, but we have printed out material for you guys to look at for that as well. So,
And
one of you guys wants to.
All right, now, would you, both if you're going to testify, please state your names and spell your
Step
last
up to the
name for
microphone,
the
though,
record.
please.
Daniel Murrow.
Thank you.
Daniel. And ma'am?
Thank you.
And would you each raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Both do. Please be seated. What would you like to say in behalf, in support of this application?
I think we would just like to support the design change and that we are looking forward to bringing the Carolina back to its historic fabric.
A little closer to the microphone, then you're not quite being heard.
We took the historic inspiration from an existing photo from 1918. Our client's Pinehurst LLC is looking for a way to bring the Carolina back to what it once was and correct some of the problems that have occurred over the past several decades. So I think our plan is to disturb as little as we can, but take some of those things that have been adjusted through the years, help to support their guest experience and the overall history and character of the hotel.
Thank you. Mauro, you have anything to add? Any questions?
There's green canvas awnings there now, right? And what, it's unclear from the rendering, what's the proposal? Will it still be canvas awnings there? Yes?
Plan to match the.
Okay. So all around will all be the green?
The side, they're just going to stick out front.
Questions? Your testimony solely relates to the proposed change to the entrance section of the hotel, correct? Say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Are there other
No,
questions?
you may be going, but to the extent they're separate, then we should probably conclude this one before we hear from people on the other one.
You can do that. That would be fine. But let me first ask if there is any member of the public who wishes to present any evidence either in support of or in opposition to this first application relating to the entrance to the Carolina Hotel. Please come forward at this time and identify yourself. I see no one. Therefore, yes?
Just a question, so without having to bring Mr. Berkeley back up, this handout, this was really just for our reference to make it easier. There's nothing for us to view. There's nothing in here that's different to what's being submitted in the application, on this particular application.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, if there's no further testimony on this matter, the commissioners are ready to deliberate, or they may be ready to make a motion. Thank you.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness and find the proposed major work at 80 Carolina Vista veranda is consistent with historic district guidelines and is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the materials submitted, and the findings of fact.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. May I ask that all in favor?
Ann, did you include issuance of, or approval of certificate of COA? I wasn't sure I heard you say that.
You read the whole thing, right?
I
Read the whole
I
thing.
did, yeah.
Then I was the one who
It's
took
just
the nap.
we melded them into one now, right? Yeah.
Okay. May I ask that all members of the commission who are in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Nays? There are no nays. Therefore, the motion passes and the certificate of appropriateness has been issued. Thank you both very much. Mr. Berkeley. And now you have some witnesses with respect to.
I'd like to invite up Jim Compton and Joshua up to the stand to testify on the plaza. And
box. Okay.
All right, would you each please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Compton, Compton.
Josh Carrick, Karrick.
Thank you. When you each raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You do. Please be seated. Please tell us what you'd like to tell us about this proposed application.
Sure. This is just a gathering area for hotel guests related to just folks needing to be outside due to kind of current health crisis. I wanted to clarify a couple of things. One is the project is the plaza, and then there's an entry component to that as well. So that wasn't stated in the initial description of the project. So I did want to clarify that. And we're trying to stay in and be congruent with materials out on the site. And we've brought some of those materials with us today just to show you as an example. So we've got, I'll just walk through that quickly. We've got the Pine Hall paver that is typical on the campus. So the red brick paver. And then the idea is that that is going to be consistent for all of the paving. The brick that we're using on the low walls is going to match the existing building, painted white. We also see that as you enter the resort, there's some piers painted white with a cast stone cap. That's consistent with what we're proposing. It's sort of a buff cast stone cap on top of the painted low walls, similar to this. And then we do have some bluestone areas at the round fire pit that would be consistent in color and texture to this sample. And then on the entry element, at sort of the executive, the office entry, the lower level entry, the purpose of that, there's a handrail there that doesn't meet current code. So we're going to revise that to be a black wrought iron railing, very similar to the color and style that's currently there. We're just going to add handrails and make it a little bit taller. And then the lower, the level storefront, the color will be consistent. We're just adding some muttons we're going to replace that and add some muttons to that storefront. Same color, but just adding some muttons to that area.
That
That's it.
Okay. Any questions for these witnesses?
What did you say about the access? I missed that.
Wasn't sure I understood that. Your initial statement about the access wasn't included or something?
Oh, I just wanted, in the initial description, it seemed like the Plaza project was the only sort of summary of this project. I just wanted to make sure that the entry, which it was in your original package, was also part of this.
Can we pull up something or look at something on here to understand what you're talking about?
There should have been a slide
I
that
think there are two pictures.
like this at the end with a rendering like that.
Really?
Yes, that, I just wanted to make sure that part of the project was.
You're talking about those, that's the rails and stuff you're talking about?
Exactly.
Is that area meant to be part of the bar, the Ryder Cup premises? Or, I mean, is there service there, or is this just a place for the hotel guests, or
It's an outdoor, it's just an outdoor,
area?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It is adjacent to the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
We are providing accessible access to it from the veranda above.
I can also imagine in good weather, people who want to smoke wanting to go out there rather than staying inside. Can actually imagine that happening in bad weather also.
Any other questions? Thank you for your presentation. As I said earlier, if there is any member of the public who wishes to present any evidence either in support of or in opposition to this second application from the Carolina, please come forward at this time and identify yourself. I see no volunteers. Accordingly, the record is closed, and the commissioners will proceed to discuss the matter. Does anyone have anything to say, or does someone wish to make a motion?
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness and find that proposed major work at Carolina Vista, the plaza portion, COA 2021-00131, is consistent with Historic District guidelines and is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the materials submitted, and the findings of fact.
Thank you, and is there a second?
Second.
Has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Will all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Congratulations, you have your certificate of appropriateness. And thank you for your presentation.
Next month.
And next month, and next.
All right, we have one remaining case, COA 2021-00126, involving 85 Mcintyre Road. Would you please stand and state your name and spell your last name for the record? And you are the owner of the subject property? Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please be seated. Alexandria?
So for case COA 2021-00126, the applicant is Scott Lincoln. The owner is the Lifestyle Property Partner. The property is located at 85 Mcintyre Road, zoned R10 residential. Current and proposed land use is single-family residential. This case was brought before, this property was brought before you with a different request last month, so you might recognize it. But the applicant has come before you now to remove 2 trees from the property. This is the site as well as the adjoining property owners who were notified of the public hearing. And these images will show you the subject trees that are being requested. So the tree that is primarily going to be a focus this evening is the tree here that you'll see in the rear of the property. The second tree that referenced in the application is actually, this is the same tree in both pictures here. The second tree is actually in the right-of-way, so that has been referred elsewhere, being that that's going to be a different process.
All right, so we're only dealing with the first tree?
We're looking at the tree that, just the one tree here in the rear of the property.
That tree would be that tall pine tree,
Correct,
not the stuff around the bottom of it.
correct.
I'm sorry, what happened to the other trees?
So the other tree that the applicant had mentioned that you'll see in your packet is actually in the right-of-way. There's a different process and procedure for trees located in the right-of-way. So the applicant has already moved forward in that.
Not in our purview. Yeah.
The section that pertains to this is Section 7, Site Features, Chapter C, Landscaping and Vegetation. The tree is more than 12 inches in diameter, which is why it is before you this evening. At this time, staff would like to submit the following into record: the staff report, presentation, the application, applicant's materials, photo, site plan, finding of fact. Any questions I can answer?
Thank you. Without objection, the materials referred to are admitted into the record. Questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to applicant. Ms. Davis, what would you like to add in support of your application, if anything?
Just that, the tree and the size of it, we have some concerns that if it were to ever fall on the house, it would pretty much destroy the whole house. It's large, and it actually, if it fell the other way, it could do some serious damage to the adjacent property. So
Diseased or?
No, no, but it's, it's kind of standing alone, not grouped with any other pine trees. I mean, we're, planning on doing some additional landscaping once we get some of the other work done, and we will be adding some new trees to the property. So it's just.
I noticed several other trees were banded.
Yes, those are all on right-of-way, so that's village. I guess they're all on village property, so we're talking. to
Village
them
is
about-
going to take care of those?
Hopefully, that's the plan.
Okay, because they're not on your property?
Correct.
All right. Because your application says 2, but there's many trees banded.
Correct.
Okay.
All of the trees but this one are,
Thank you.
Personal opinion, that tree doesn't add a whole lot of aesthetic appeal to your property.
no.
It would be hard to define this as this property as having a canopy.
Yes, that's right. It's a very small canopy.
What's the potential for the other, not that, I guess it's not our jurisdiction or authority, but, because there aren't many trees. You don't have any trees on that property, so.
No, and the other trees that were banded that you saw were, I think, silver oaks that are, I guess, not considered to be extremely valuable trees anymore, I don't know, but, and they've all been cut back to keep them out of power lines, and they're really chopped up, so.
Duke would appreciate those going away, but
Right.
they're not part of our discussion, so.
Right, so, yeah, but other than that, this one just would be out there standing. There are a couple other pine trees that we're not asking to
Yeah, but there aren't
go
many
further
on
away.
the street facing, I guess.
No,
or on the corner.
no.
There was bamboo.
Yes.
I want to say there was a lot of clearing that had been done on this property. Cats as well, I'm sure, I think. As a rule of thumb, we typically don't like to approve trees being removed unless there's a good reason.
Yeah, and it's a must not in our guidelines. That's my concern. It must not.
Can you read the guideline, just so we?
Yeah, it says removal of trees 12 inches in diameter at breast height and larger must not unreasonably compromise the existing tree canopy and the historic appearance of the landscape.
I don't
And-
think that, removing that ain't going to impact any canopy that I can see. One tree
I
doesn't
mean,
make a canopy.
it's a matter of, I guess it's
Oh,
subjective opinion is what I'm saying.
Hold on, please, wait a minute.
Okay.
We're into the deliberations. Let's,
all right.
let's let does anybody have any questions for the applicant before we proceed further? Alex?
If I can make a suggestion, one thing that might help while the applicant's still before you deliberate is she did give testimony that there's additional landscaping that they would like to do on the site. You could maybe get further information on what kind of landscaping they're proposing to do.
What kind of landscaping?
Well, that was part of the original
Yeah,
application months ago.
I think we already approved something on that.
Yeah, we already approved it.
I don't think it
Want to
can,
just describe it now for this
General terms.
application, though?
Well, I mean, there are additional, obvious, around the foundation and corners of the house, and we actually are going to have additional landscape plans that will, a landscape designer working on those.
I don't think we approved anything that involved trees. As I recall, it was all landscaping
Right.
immediately around the
Right.
house.
Correct, correct.
I would be willing to take to the extent there is a canopy, they're removing 100% of it. I don't think this meets the definition of canopy, and I would be willing to take the applicant at the good faith that they intend to replace it with some number of trees in the future.
Anything further that you'd like to add? Thank you. As I said earlier, if there's any member of the public who wishes to present any evidence, either in support of or in opposition to the application, please come forward at this time and identify yourself. I see no one. Therefore, the evidentiary record in this case is closed, and it's time for the commissioners to deliberate. Can I guess that somebody is going to be ready to make a motion?
Well, can I just discuss something real briefly or ask for, so just going forward, just so we know what we're looking at, I mean, this is a must not, and I guess what you're all saying is it does not unreasonably compromise? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, the other thing that I think should be noted, and I have some personal experience with this, is that there used to be many trees in that area. There used to be more pine trees, and pine trees need friends. When you leave them solo, you're asking for trouble. That could be a hazard, could be easily classified as a hazard by a certified arborist, because it's by itself.
Okay, but that's not evidence on the,
I'm just saying from
and it's
personal
not
experience.
diseased or anything like that, so.
Well, there's two sides of the story. I'm just telling you the other side.
I mean, the flip side of this was when the village chapel was before us, where they have quite a canopy, and they were proposing to take out a number of trees, and that was very much a topic of discussion. We've seen that a few other private residential lots, mostly where there was an extensive canopy, and the question is, are we really impacting it or not? I don't think that quite fits here, even though, as you say, the intent of the regulations, and I think that's why we are perhaps suggesting, if we move this way, that it is not congruous, but nevertheless would be approved.
And this is a good example on why you take each one of these on its own merits on a case-by-case basis. To Ann's credit, there's a reason why that guideline is in there and why it has strong language. But there might be instances in where you as a board get to determine whether or not that is reasonably or unreasonably compromising that canopy.
And if there were 5 or 6 other similar trees on the property, I would want to know why this tree, what's the rationale behind that, but there aren't.
Did we have, I don't recall being at the meeting when we had this previously come before us.
You may not have been here.
Was there a
Yeah, I think
landscape
it-
plan submitted with it?
Around the immediate
So just
building.
small plantings around the house, no perimeter trees?
Correct.
You don't plan to plant pine trees and, or larger trees that would create a canopy at all?
If I might interrupt, please. If I might interrupt, in front of you here on the screen, this is the Exhibit B that was submitted last month with their application and review. You'll see here are 3 different plant species that were being proposed, each having a color that represents them, and the plantings are proposed around the foundation of the home, and what was a proposed fencing area that hasn't come before you. So note that there are several thick shrubbery landscape proposed, as well as a holly. That holly would be the front corners.
Alexandria, that aerial may help kind of show that canopy too, or what canopy is there.
Make that a little larger. Thank you.
I'm not sure the date of this GIS aerial image.
I think they're 2019.
Okay.
Obviously, some of it's shared with some of the adjacent properties, but
So the one that we're talking about is, your little pointer there is,
That one right there.
yeah. And then the one that will be dealt with by,
I think it's on the Kelly Road right-of-way side.
There's all the way around.
All the way around, yeah, that.
It looked like on the previous site plan where you had the plantings around the house, it looked like there was a fence that this tree's getting in the way of.
Actually, the fence could go around it, so that's not really, the primary reason. Obviously, it would make it a little easier.
So the primary reason is your concern of it falling, getting diseased at some point, or in a storm falling over the house.
Yeah, and it's standing out there by itself. It's like a lightning rod, potentially. So, I mean, it doesn't bring any significant value, I don't think, to the property, but
Any other discussion? Anyone feel like making a motion? Yes, sir.
I move the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness and find the proposed major work at COA 2021-00126, 85 Mcintyre Road is not consistent with the Historic District guidelines. Nonetheless, it is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historical District based on the testimony given in the material submitted and the findings of fact for the following reason. The proposed removal of one tree appears to be within the historic district. Given the details of what has been submitted for review, the proposal appears to be compatible with the other residential lots within the historical district.
Why did you change it from 2 to 1?
Only one
Because we're only
tree.
talking about one.
Pardon?
We're only talking
Only
about
one
one
tree.
tree.
One's in the right of way.
Second
The
tree's in the
second
right of
tree
way.
isn't on your property?
It's
Okay,
the-
got it, all right.
Well, that's why I changed it. So it is one.
Is there a second?
Second.
What's compatible mean?
I don't have my standards with me, so
Huh?
I don't have the standards. There's a definition in the terms of the standards, or the guidelines, depending what you want to call them this day.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Is there discussion?
What does compatible mean?
Compatibility is defined as the state of being harmonious or agreeable with integrated with other elements in a structure or environment.
That's a new one to me. I don't know. I haven't heard that one, but,
It's,
That's right out of our standards, right?
yeah, but when was the last time we used compatible? Like,
We've
it's
used that
almost
word.
congruous, but apparently not quite.
David and I had a long conversation about that at another meeting several months ago.
yeah, and?
And what you just said, you never heard it, but it was there.
Oh, I don't understand the compatible. So where did you come out on it? I mean, can't we be more specific?
I'll express my opinion that although this standard or guideline is expressed in what seem to be strong terms of must not, it goes on to say must not unreasonably compromise the existing tree canopy and historic appearance of the landscape. I would say that the landscape involved doesn't have an historic appearance to begin with, and therefore it can't be compromised, and that there is no canopy in the sense that it is normally used in the arboristic community, and that therefore the applicant's desire to protect the safety of her house and family is more than adequate justification for removing this single tree. My personal opinion. That's how I will vote.
Well, I would just suggest that going forward, there should be evidence if you're talking about safety, because you could say that about any tree, right? And I'm just thinking for the future, not this one so much, but I just thought we could be more specific in saying, maybe this one single tree, just, I don't even know as if I'm not even sure what the canopy is here, because you can't see the full photo of it right now. Sorry?
There's nothing near it when I looked today, when I drove around and
It's
to the site
It's
review.
not a
I would-
specimen tree, put it that way.
Right, I mean,
think
so
the
I'm just
only
trying to
thing
be
left
more
around it is
specific
a-
as to
I
this
assume
tree.
those are bamboo still at the base of it, or more than likely.
Scrub oaks.
We're trying to get rid of the bamboo.
Keeping that foliage below, those trees below, right, there?
No, those aren't really trees. I think they're bushes that are going to get clear
Are
cut.
they staying or no?
Yeah.
Oh, they're not staying either, so the whole thing's.
I don't think they would need our approval to
Single
remove them.
pine tree standing
No,
there.
caliper is like 1 or 2 inches. I mean, I'd agree with what you say. I think the rub is we just like to see trees. We don't like to see them removed, but,
I would
and I agree with what you said. I think this is not Everett. It's not Fields. It's not a road that has a lot of tree coverage. Clearing this tree probably does fit in there with that road. I think it's Medlin, right? Is it Medlin? Mcintyre, but Medlin's the main
Cross
road.
street.
And I would say that road typically does not fit in with the majority of houses that come before us with the sort of historic character. And that would be why I would be in support of removing this tree. But I think case by case, as Alex said, if this was on another road where there was substantial coverage, where you get that shade, where you have that sort of picturesque driving under trees and you have leaves and pine straw and annoying brush that goes everywhere, I'd be hard pressed to vote for a removal of a tree without you proposing something in exchange, like coming back with something else that's more significant. So that's my deliberation. I reluctantly will vote yes.
And hence the subjectivity of these standards or guidelines, because lucky you, you were one of very few groups, boards, commissions throughout the state of North Carolina that you get to exercise your personal discretion in making land use decisions.
That's exactly why we are a quasi-judicial board.
So if you don't get evidence you need for some application and to apply those standards, then you don't, or you get it and you can act.
So we've had a motion,
Right.
we've had a second. Any more deliberation?
Hearing none, I will poll the commissioners.
Aye.
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 Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Congratulations, you have your certificate of appropriateness. I hope that in the course of time that your property can get covered by beautiful trees that you love and that love you.
That won't fall on
Thank
the
you for
house.
your presentation.
But produce a canopy.
Yes, and then there'll be a canopy.
Yeah.
Our goal is to make it much prettier than.
Thank you.
Good start on doing that already. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, that completes our docket. This concludes the public hearing. May I have a motion to close the public hearing and return to the regular commission meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now in a regular meeting. This meeting is public, and you are all welcome, none of you, to stay and observe, but only members of the commission and its staff may speak. We have been provided with the minor work and staff approvals, which we have reviewed. Anybody have any comments or questions about those for staff? No, hearing none. Do we have any other business?
Only perhaps to consider Ann's suggestion that we try to schedule a date for a work session. I think we do have some issues to discuss,
Well, we
but not
have,
tonight.
we have a number of things to discuss at a work session, including, as Tom suggested, there's some problems with the procedural regulations we may want to talk about.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a relatively short discussion, because it's pretty clear in the statute.
But we also have the issue of the revisions to the guidelines. Alex, where do we stand on that?
So update as of 3:30 PM on those editorial changes. I hope to have a final draft to review tomorrow at the earliest. Right now, I don't really want to jinx it, but next month's agenda, I mean, at this time last month, we already knew of 3 or 4 of the applications that were before you tonight were coming. Right now, there's one that's kind of in flux that we really haven't gotten an update from an applicant yet. So we could have a light agenda next month. I know, Eric, that you and Mayor Strickland have been discussing the opportunity for maybe yourself and maybe one other representative of the HPC to join and the village council, their work session on September 14th. And obviously, our staff goal would be to definitely have those editorial changes completely done in a markup format to have to share, although not, any material changes to discuss. I don't know what else you guys have discussed that you would like to bring up during that September 14th meeting, but obviously that would come prior to our next regular scheduled meeting, even if we did have a light caseload.
Let me just say, for the benefit of all the commissioners, I don't know if the 14th is going to work for the village council. It works for me. It'll be the last time that I'll be available for that for about a month. And that's why I've asked the mayor if he can schedule it at that time, because I would like to participate. I would hope that although there's no requirement that every member of the commission attend such a work session, everybody is invited to come, and and some may be more urged to come than merely invited. We really need to get those particular changes to the guidelines/standards before the village council. They're the ones that have to decide it, but
Make a motion.
get it to them.
Yeah, and we have to approve it.
I know Alex has been working like a one-armed paper hanger with an itch, I think is the expression we used to.
I've heard that one before.
But I think he's almost done.
I also have good staff that I can ask to give me a hand when I need a hand. One thing I do want to mention, if it is a serious consideration that at least 2 other members will be joining you at that work session, staff will need to know in quite advance, because we will need to do the appropriate notice, because it would constitute a public body, therefore a public meeting, and sets forth other actions and items that our department and the village clerk will need to embark on.
Not to argue, but do we need to do that given that the existing session would be a public meeting for the council, who presumably would have a
We
quorum
would also
there?
be a public meeting as well, if there's more than 2 of us.
Even though we're appearing to testify, if you will. Okay.
At their meeting.
It would be the 14th, yes. The regular meeting begins at 4:30. The work session item is after the regular meeting, so,
Knows when that will be.
or, you know, and I'm not real, council only meets once in August, so I'm not sure just how many items, planning related. Ours are most likely just going to be anything on the work session, so I don't know what else would be before
We're
them.
able to schedule a separate meeting, obviously.
Not yet.
I think that was the earliest that dates could align for at least.
What I'm hoping is that the council will regard what we're presenting to them as non-controversial, and that they will be prepared to adopt it once it's been presented to them. But, that's their decision to make and not ours to predict, but that's what we're trying to do.
So if that's the case, then, you're trying to get this guidelines to standards thing changed. Is
So
the thing
so
that you're
be
proposing.
published,
That would be
and
the
we can
only
start
thing you would
using
be
it.
going with it.
That would be, yes. Now,
Okay.
I told the mayor that we were working on other things, that we weren't prepared to make a presentation on other things, and we'd be more than happy to hear any thoughts that the village council has about what we ought to be focusing on, but that we're not volunteering anything at this point other than the standards equals guidelines.
So we need to vote on that change as a group prior to the 14th when you present it.
Did I feel like we came away from the June 17th work session with?
I think we had a
With that.
consensus.
Do we have a motion? I mean, there needs to be something formal other than, yeah, I think it's all good. That too.
Discussing a whole bunch of other
regard to the
things.
one that we're presenting to council, I think, it's kind of non-optional.
I
And
mean, I'm not saying we can't do it by just send us an email. If we like it, we'll tell you back that it's done, and that could be the form of a vote.
I
But
don't know that, see, we don't adopt.
No, but I think
We're
we
just
need.
making a recommendation. to-
And in the 14th, it being a work session item, it's nothing that's going to be, the council's going to take action on anyway. So it would still have time to come back before you guys, and hopefully,
that's
we can
fine.
hammer out a comprehensive, maybe a slightly more comprehensive update. The end of the year is a great goal for that.
And I think it would be fair to say to the council with respect to the other things that they're more, having looked at the newly revised draft and worked with it for some time, it's in the realm of errors and omissions, as opposed to any fundamental rewrite, which is not what we were seeking to do.
Well, we've had some suggestions for some very creative ideas. Ideas as radical as changing the guideline, the dividing line between what we have to do and what the staff can do. And we haven't.
Changing from major, minor work
haven't
items, and I
gotten
don't know if
any-
that's.
We've identified that
probably
as a
not.
potential issue.
I'd just leave it nebulous and say, we're working on other issues, probably a little more substantial than changing the word from guidelines to standards.
I personally would like to be able to turn to issues like that while we have the commission that we've got right now, because you've all had experience with all of these issues. You all have good ideas. They're not always the same good ideas, but they're all good ideas that I think it would benefit the village if we could.
I think I'm the next one off, and I'm not off until January, a year from January is mine, or 23, so I think that's,
Well, you know, you're basically our historic memory, so.
but that means we've got at least a year plus a handful of months. And it's not, I'm not controlling anything because I don't think I need to be there, but on the 14th, I will be in Charlotte picking up my wife at the airport, so I'm not going to be able to be your co-string on that one.
Ben, I'm sorry about that. But
Personally, I'm not, but thank you.
But I think the next meeting of this commission in September, I won't be here, so you can chair.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, then
Lucky you.
I will be here on the 23rd, so that's the September meeting, at least to the best of my knowledge, God willing.
Well, so can we have a work session among ourselves?
That was going to be my next
Yeah,
issue. We need to
before-
work on some of this other stuff.
Before the 14th, or is that being too optimistic? Yeah.
Well,
'Cause we've only been
nothing
asking
ventured,
for
nothing
this
gained.
Since June.
Labor Day is, I believe, the 6th.
Correct.
If we were going to try to do it before the 14th, I would pick the days after that, because I don't think I'm here before that, but I am here those days. Just to put a stalking horse out there.
Stick with the Thursday. You're looking,
Be
if
the
you want to do
9th.
it in September, after Labor Day would be the 9th or the 16th.
If it's a short HPC at the end of the month, why don't we just knock it out on that day?
And we will know that a week from today, just what we'll have on the agenda. 7. Yeah. Well, some of those, I might have a personal thought that may not have needed to rise to the level of a public hearing and a major work COA, which have already started a poster board of Post-it notes of specific cases that when we get together with a work session, we can,
Yeah.
Why don't you let us know next week what the docket looks like at the end of the month?
Yeah.
And would the 9th work as a backstop if we cannot do it on the 23rd? I'd be happy to do it the 23rd.
We can do, we can even do the 30th. We can do it the week after.
Not quite sure when I'll be back in the saddle.
All right, well, we'll shoot for the 23rd, and if not, we'll do one, and let's do one in October, irrespective of caseload and so on, because we do need to move forward with it, I think.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.